Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful once again to see everyone here in person, and those of you who are joining us remotely this Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. We thank God for bringing us together as we read in this week's Parsha, the Song of the Sea. This is Shabbat Shirah, a Shabbat of song. And so we begin by joining together in song. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash. Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Shir Chadash. Ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ma tovu, ma tovu, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. We read together. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring that vision to life.
Is it on? As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvato v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Leslie Flores, for leading us in prayer this evening, our Shabbat blessing. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom. And as we continue in this Shabbat Shirah, Shabbat of song, we join together in the song of Lecha Dodi as we welcome the presence of Shabbat into our presence, as we welcome the presence of Shabbat as though we were welcoming an honored guest like a bride entering the room. And so when we reach the final verse of Lecha Dodi, I will ask the congregation to rise at that time and turn to face the entryway of our prayer space. Those of you who are praying from home may also rise and turn toward the entryway of your prayer space. And as always, if it is difficult to physically rise, the Talmud tells us that one should rise in your heart and direct your heart towards God, as we all direct our hearts. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi'anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet litila. Lecha dodi, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תעריצי, אל יריש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Please be seated. It is evening, and children slowly dream away the storms of the day. It is evening, and stars glow gently in the quiet heavens. Can we understand a dream? Can we find a net to capture the meaning of a glowing star? What bridge spans the vast space we must cross to reach understanding? How small are we who attempt the journey? And yet, somehow we learn to find our glory in a brave and endless struggle, to comprehend life's eternal mysteries. We are voyagers on an infinite sea, our destination always beyond the horizon. But we are voyagers. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Haba, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, ברגלה, ברגלה, ובזמן אמרו אמן. יהי שמך במברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. rise now for the Amidah. We rise now for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the season and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv haravim. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shofvenu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem hayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vehayu advarim haele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. We read together in English. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, and that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha bedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh vele, nora tehilot oseh vele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zeili anu ve'ameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Kal Yisrael. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai haporeh sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. Ki sheshet yamim, for in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed. We rise now for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכה חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people, Israel, in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, haberech et amo Yisrael, Shalom. You may be seated or continue in silent prayer. Ose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'yimeru. Amen. We finally made it out of Egypt. In this week's Parsha, we finally made it out of Egypt after all of the struggle, the plagues, the labor, the suffering. We finally made it out. Moses lifted his staff above the water, the seas parted, and our ancestors crossed on dry land from the land of Egypt and into the wilderness. Yes, into the wilderness. As they went, they sang. They sang their way into the wilderness. We all find ourselves from time to time in an Egypt, a Mitzrayim, a place of difficulty, a place of narrowness. And it's natural to celebrate when we finally take those first steps out of Mitzrayim, out of that place of bondage, that place where we feel bound, into that place where we can be free without even realizing that we are stepping into the wilderness. In fact, after our ancestors crossed the sea, after they sang their song with Moses, after they sang their song and played their timbrels with Miriam, almost the first thing that they did was start complaining about how much better life was in Egypt. They say, here we are in the wilderness. We already ate our matzah, and we have nothing left to eat. There's no bread. There's no meat. There's no nothing. They were not terribly well educated, back then. They didn't have good English. The first thing our ancestors did was complain to Moses that there was no food and no water. Moses, at God's instruction, took his staff in front of the elders of the community, struck, tapping it onto the rock which God had instructed him, which opened up and poured forth water, this miraculous source of water. That took care of the water. But what about the food? What sustains you when you're in the wilderness? You might be in a wilderness right now. I know a lot of us are. A lot of us have been in a narrow place, have been in a Mitzrayim, in Egypt, have been in a place of bondage, a place where we felt bound, trapped, constrained. And now we're taking our first steps out, and we find ourselves once again in the wilderness. What sustains you in the wilderness? God spoke to Moses and said, "Tell the people that I will provide them with manna. I will provide them with miraculous food from the heavens, which will appear as dew on the ground in the morning, like coriander seed." I don't know what a coriander seed is. That's just what it says in the Torah. It will appear as dew in the morning, and the people will go out and collect it. Well, there was no FDA, but there were some additional instructions. God said, when they collect the food, this miraculous food, whether they gather all morning or whether they're only able to spend a few minutes gathering, whether they cover a whole field and gather it in, or whether they're only able to gather what's in arm's reach, whatever they gather will sustain them. You have to reach down and grab it, but whatever you find there will sustain you. There's more rules. Whatever they collect will sustain them for that day, God gives in the instruction. But do not set it aside or save it for the next day because it will spoil. And sure enough, our ancestors, faithless as they were, faithless perhaps as we are, don't we all struggle with faith sometimes? Our ancestors Some of them tried to keep it for the next morning, and sure enough, the Torah says it was covered in maggots. What a unnecessarily vivid image. That's not all. There's one more rule. Each day, the manna will fall, they'll collect it, and it will be enough to sustain them for one day, except on Friday morning. Friday morning like this morning. On Friday morning, a double portion will fall. Twice as much manna will fall on this one day of the week, the sixth day of the week, so that they can gather in enough for 2 days. So they can gather on Friday, and it will sustain them on Friday and on Shabbat, because they should not be out gathering on Shabbat. They should rest. And this manna that they gather in advance of Shabbat, this manna that they gather in advance of Shabbat will not spoil. It will sustain them. And yet our ancestors, sure enough, faithless though they were, some of them went out on Saturday morning, looked around for the manna and said, "Where's the manna? We can't." Every other day it came. Even though they were instructed, you have what you need to sustain you. On Fridays, we get a double portion. And as a matter of fact, that's why many Jews have a custom of blessing 2 chalot, 2 challahs. Do you have this custom at home? Do we have challahs today? I'm getting the thumbs up. Before you leave, grab 2 mini challahs, thanks to Amidah. We have a custom of 2 challahs. And Amidah, I think, knows this. That's why he always puts them in pairs. Because on Shabbat, we get a double portion. We get 2 portions of joy, 2 portions of sustenance to sustain us through Shabbat. Our ancestors didn't believe that God would sustain them. Think about it. Why? Why would they, having just enough to sustain for one day, why would they still try to put some aside for tomorrow? Why would they choose to go hungry and set the manna aside? Unless they didn't believe that more would come to sustain them the next day. They didn't believe on Shabbat morning, even though they had enough, even though they had a double portion from the day before, even though that portion had not spoiled when they woke up in the morning, they could see it. They still were shocked when they looked out and said, "God, you have given us nothing to sustain us on this Shabbat. There's no manna in this wilderness." How many times do you wake up? How many times this year? We're still in January. We have not yet made it out of January. We're only about halfway through. How many times this year have you woken up and looked out for the manna, for the spiritual sustenance, and found nothing? Looked out at the landscape looking for inspiration, for energy, for reinvigoration, and it wasn't there. How many times in these past 2 years, how many times throughout your lifetime have you looked out and saw that there was no manna, there was nothing to sustain you? This parable of the manna from heaven that comes in this week's Torah portion tells us a little bit about how faith and spiritual sustenance operate. There are two lessons. Number one, no matter how hard you work, you're not going to get extra, you're not going to get ahead, you're not going to get more spiritual fulfillment than you need. There's not some magic process that you can go through, much though these internet, Instagram gurus will encourage you to follow their 10-step plan to spiritual fulfillment. There is no special process that can get you extra fulfillment. But at the same time, your spiritual fulfillment is provided. Your manna is available. All you have to do is reach out and pick it up. Number two, when you run out, there will be more. When you run out of energy, when you run out of inspiration, when you run out of that fire that drives you, it can feel like that's the end of the road. You can feel like there's just no more. But that's not how it works. Because the next morning, there will be more. There will be something new to sustain you if you reach down and pick it up. Every time you're running low, you'll find something to help you recharge. And when you reach down as deeply as you can and you find nothing, it might be Shabbat. It might be that time when you need to look back at your reserves. Because God has already given you what you need. God has already given you an extra portion to sustain you through those barren times. God will sustain you through the wilderness. That's the lesson of the manna. The spiritual wilderness that you may find yourself in today, and if not today, you will find yourself in a spiritual wilderness within your lifetime. God will sustain you. There will always be manna. There will always be sustenance. And when you wake up in the morning and you look out and you find none, look back. Look back at the previous day. Look at what you already have in your home, in your household, in your history, in your life. That is your spiritual sustenance. God will always provide in times of spiritual hunger. When we fear that our energy and our resources are running low, when we fear that there's not enough to sustain us, we have to have faith that God will provide what we need in the time, the moment that we need it the most. Shabbat Shalom. We know that there are many within our community and beyond who are in need of that special sustenance, that special spiritual uplift, that energy, that manna, who are in need of prayer and healing at this time. We ask for God to be with all of those who are in need of healing, all of those who are affected around the world by acts of nature or acts of violence. We ask for God to be with all those doctors and nurses and technicians, all of the hospital workers, the ER workers, the pulmonology workers, all of those who are once again overwhelmed by this terrible pandemic which continues. We ask for God to give them strength and spiritual sustenance in this time when they so dearly need it. We ask for God's presence to be with all of our first responders and members of our armed services. We ask for God to watch over them as they watch over and protect us. And in particular, we ask for God's healing presence to be with Marion Doan, Ryan Blum, Alec Blum, Tal Hazon, Jacob Hazon, Mayor Ben Esther, James Dutremaine, Oscar Garcia Yosef Ben Matilda, Victoria Fishman, Schoni Bat Malka, Alan Fishman, Ilan Ben Schoni, Norma Einhorn, Patty Landsman, Craig Beckerman, Olga Gabriel, Jeff Gabriel, Candy London, Rachel Dworska Bat Chana Rivka, Diana Garcia, Angela Winehouse, Elle Pack, Rachel Maves, Sylvia Gale Klein, and Rochelle Cinder. If you are praying for someone in their time of need, their time of spiritual healing, their time when they are lacking the divine sustenance that they need to sustain them, when they are searching for that sustenance they need to sustain them, please say their name aloud as I look to you. You may also post their name in the chat or speak their name aloud or in your heart, and God will hear. As always, if you know of anyone who should be included on our list for public prayers, please share their name with myself or with Eddie in the office during the week so that we may join our prayers together for them. We do join together now in the Mishaberach Lecholim, a prayer of healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. May God's healing presence come swiftly and soon to all those in need of healing. Amen. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and in spirit. Amen. Avinu Shabashamayim Tzur Yisrael v'Goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. We rise now as we approach the concluding portion of our service. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula liyotzeh breshit, shelo hasanu ki goyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Lovely harmonies this evening. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. At this time, we remember those who have died in recent days, for whom we are in a period of Shiva, including Juan Rangel and Erwin Hahn. We also remember those who have died in recent weeks, while we are in a period of Shloshim, for Jack Wernick, Dr. Jose A. Mejeres, Jose A. Almorza, and Joel E. Rubin, as well as all of those who have died in the past year, including Lionel Getz, Labesh Yoda Ben Pinchas, Lenora Nodi Pearson-Gent, Dr. Marco Antonio Treu Ruiseco, Michelle Bernstein, Juanita Schraber-Kaufman, Stuart Klein, Larry Allen Wayner, Michael Kratowski, Vicente Navarro, Jose Trujillo Jimenez, Lillian Thomas, Rachel Pena, Shirley Tepper, and Michael Ginsberg. We also remember those whose yahrzeits occur this week, the anniversary of their death, including Jenya Chastakowski, Ben Blum, Mike Fallick, Rebecca Wernick, Berta Melnick, Dorothy Averack, and Louis Albert. If you are in a period of mourning at this time, please rise and share the name of the person you are remembering. You may also post their name in the chat or speak their name aloud or in your heart, and God will hear. If it is your custom to stand with those who mourn, please rise now for the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrei chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, ve'chayechon uvyomechon uvechaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'hagala uvizman kariv imeru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ul'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiram b'alma v'imeru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Ose shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and all the world, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. And we do have a few announcements this evening. If you are planning to attend services in person, please keep the following in mind. Anyone who is experiencing symptoms or has recently been exposed to COVID-19 should attend Shabbat services online. In accordance with current local and national guidance, wearing a mask is encouraged in the Temple Emanuel building. Please continue to take sensible precautions to protect yourself and others. Please follow all posted guidelines and announcements. If you are attending services remotely, you can let us know how we're doing during or after the service by posting in the chat of whichever program you are using. We monitor and respond to these messages during services as needed. Coming up soon here at Temple Emanuel, there's always something going on here. We always keep busy. Tomorrow morning is our regular Saturday morning Torah study where we'll be looking at that Song of the Sea. At 9 a.m. by Zoom only. That is followed by the Saturday morning service at 10:30 a.m., which is available by Zoom, Facebook Live, YouTube, or here in person in the sanctuary. Our Introduction to Judaism course continues Monday from 6:30 to 8:30 via Zoom. Beginners Hebrew weekly classes continue Thursdays at 7:30 p.m., also via Zoom. Sisterhood Vision Board event is Tuesday, January 18 at 6 p.m. That event is via Zoom. If you received early promotion that it would be in person, that has been shifted to a Zoom-only event as we look forward to the year ahead. and I guess envision what could be ahead. I don't know what, you'll have to go to find out exactly what a vision board is and how it will help you figure out where you are and where you're headed, whether it's into the wilderness or not. You can contact the temple office for more information or to sign up. The Sisterhood Deli Lunch has been postponed. Be on the lookout for a new date, which will be set later this year. Temple Youth Group Trapped event is scheduled for January 23rd at 4 p.m. You can join us for a challenging game using strategy, creativity, and teamwork. Price is $25 per person. After the game, join us at University Draft House for dinner with kosher-style options. Dinner is included with the price, and you can reach out to myself for more information, or you can reach out to Sandy Tawil, our youth coordinator this year. Our Sunday school has a very special all-school Tu B'Shvat celebration planned on Sunday, including planting a brand new tree here on the grounds of Temple Emanuel. How many times in your life do you have the opportunity to plant a tree? This is one of them, so do try to be here on Sunday. The musical service for that event will be outdoors. We want to wish happy birthdays this week to Michael Rabinovich, Aaron Tawil, Brianna Dutremaine, to Nicholas Hoffman, Jackie Wyatt, and Sylvia Chakra. Jackie and Sylvia, who are celebrating their birthdays today, we wish you a very happy birthday if you are joining with us. And for all of those celebrating birthdays this week, I hope that they were days of celebration, days of a little bit of happiness, and days to enjoy life, family, something sweet, and a sweet year ahead of you all to come. We also want to wish a happy anniversary this past Tuesday to Raphael and Sylvia Chakra. May this be a year filled with love, with family. May it be your strongest and best year yet. If you know of any simchas in our community, such as births, new homes, promotions, or awards, please contact the temple office or myself so that we can celebrate these blessings together. Shabbat Shalom. Our closing song is Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chepto Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Vehu Haya Vehu Ove Vehu Yeh Betifara Vehu Yeh Betifara Vehu Echad Ve'en Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira Beli Reishit, Beli Tachlit, Velo Haoz V'Hamisra, Velo Haoz V'Hamisra, Vehu Eli, V'Chai Goali, V'Tzur Hevli, B'Cheitzara, Vehu Nisi Umanos Li, Menat kosi beyom ekra, menat kosi beyom ekra, beyado avki ruchi ve'et ishan ve'ya'ira, ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li velo ira. Adonai li velo ira. Shabbat Shalom. And before our oneg, we join together in blessing of Kiddush, sanctifying this special day, and Hamotzi, thanking God for bringing forth bread and manna from the earth. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who, finding favor with us, sanctified us with mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the Holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. As first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your Holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher hitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'vratzon inchilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. And our challah, we have one here, but it's braided with an even number of braids, which is another way of signifying the double portion. Did you know that? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei avon, enjoy. If you're here, please join us, if it is safe to do so, for our oneg. And those of you who are joining us remotely, we'll see you for services or for classes in the morning. Shabbat.